Welcome to Base2Base Military Homeschooling, the podcast sponsored by Military Homeschoolers Association. It is designed specifically for military homeschoolers navigating the unique challenges of educating our children while moving to new communities every 2 to 3 years. I'm your host, Natalie Mack, and I know firsthand the challenges and rewards of homeschooling while on the move. So where in the large world of military homeschooling are we today? Listen in to our incredible guest. Hi, I am Natalie Mack. I am the host of this podcast, Base2Base Military Homeschooling. And so in the intro, you heard a little bit about what the podcast will be about. And I just thought it would be good to answer the next likely question, which is, who is Natalie Mack and why did she decide to start this podcast called Base2Base Military Homeschooling? So first, you need to know Base2Base Military Homeschooling is a product, a service of the nonprofit I started in October of 2023, which is called Military Homeschoolers Association. You can see the logo in the top of the screen. So let me tell you a little bit about myself so that you have an idea of why I'm passionate about military homeschooling. So I'm a fairly recently retired Navy chaplain spouse. I served alongside my husband for 34 years, and I do believe spouses and children serve alongside their active duty sponsors. We don't put on the boots, we don't put on the uniform, but we definitely serve. And I do believe that we have such a pivotal, such a very important strategic role as spouses as well as family members. And so we served for 34 years. And I'll tell you a little bit about that journey, but let me tell you a little bit more about my homeschooling journey because you probably want to know that first. So we've been homeschooling for 23 plus years. So that makes me a veteran. We have 5 children. 4 of them are college graduates. That means they were homeschooled to college. They have graduated college, and 2 of them have also finished graduate degrees. A third out of those 4 is just starting graduate school now. And then who is left out of the 5? Our youngest son, who is 17 and in 12th grade. And so it has been an incredible journey, and our whole complete homeschooling journey has been within the military. If you want to know more about that particular journey, then please make sure you check out my TEDx on the impact of homeschooling. It is available on YouTube. It is called The Impact of Homeschooling. Natalie Mack, I was honored to be asked to do the podcast. It has over 23,000 views, and I did it in April of 2023. So I am thankful. It appears to be making the impact, which was to encourage you with the "you can get it done. Let's get it done." You'll hear that throughout the podcast, and that's my passion. That's my encouragement. I know homeschooling is not easy. It's a sacrifice, and within the military community, it is an additional responsibility. But having said that, I do believe it is a worthy sacrifice. So I am pro homeschooling. I'm not anti public school, but I am passionate about helping families to homeschool well. If you need a little bit of that type of help, understanding what to do next, developing a plan for high school, or any of those things, I do have a homeschool consultation business. It is called Homeschool Natalie Mack on all socials, and you can find my website. It should be listed in the description, and reach out if you need homeschool consultation. Okay. I am also an author. I have written a book called 101 Tips for Homeschoolers. It is available on Amazon. So take a look if you need a journal style book. The tips were really from my heart over the journey, over the years, that I just wanted to pour into you, the homeschooling mom. Maybe you have just started on the journey and you just need a little bit of encouragement. So it is a journal style book. So each tip is there. I have a prompt and I have journal lines there for you to be able to respond. Again, you can find it on YouTube. It is also available in my Amazon store, which should be in the description for you to access if you would like. I also own a jewelry business, and you're probably saying, oh my gosh, this lady, not a lot of white space in my calendar, but it's filled with things I'm so excited to do, so honored to do, and they give me great joy. My biggest joy is my relationship with Christ. I will say that. My next biggest joy is my husband. We've been dating and together since junior year of high school. So he's my partner. And then my next biggest joy are our 5 blessings. But then supporting homeschoolers, jewelry, travel. I love to cook and bake. All those kinds of things. I love to read. I love to do public speaking. And I love to nurture and encourage people that they can get this homeschooling thing done. It's not easy, but you can get it done. You just need the right support, the right tools, someone to come alongside you, a community, right? I believe within the military homeschooling community, there are so many of us with such wealth of information and knowledge. This podcast, I hope, will be an opportunity to bring that forward to you, the audience, to be able to encourage you, to inspire you, to be able to answer those questions that you have when you get those orders to the next duty station, that next assignment, and you are up late trying to Google and on social media trying to find people who are there who can answer your questions about what homeschooling is like there at that installation in that state. You know, what type of support exists, co-ops. Is there classical conversations for those who are in CC? All the types of questions that you have surrounding that next duty station and homeschooling. What's the law like, right? So I want to emphasize that it's going to be what you're going to hear from military homeschoolers like myself, like you, who are able to share from a wealth of experience, knowledge, investment in their community, blooming where they are planted. You can give that information back to you, the audience. And so I'm always seeking guests for the podcast who are living places that they have invested themselves in for the 2 or 3 years that you are there, that you have bloomed where you are planted, and that you would love to be able to share the information, the knowledge, the experience about what it's like to homeschool at that particular duty station anywhere in the world, because the military is huge and small. And I'm talking all 6 branches. So this is a purple podcast, okay? Purple meaning all branches. So back to a little bit more about me. So I mentioned I'm an owner of a jewelry store. I am a paparazzi accessories independent consultant. So I do own a jewelry store called Bella Bling by Natalie. I have also started, like I mentioned, the homeschool consultation, Homeschool Natalie Mack. And my latest venture that I'm super passionate about is the nonprofit that is sponsoring, that is hosting this podcast called Base2Base Military Homeschoolers. And so the association is also for you, the military homeschooler, to be able to know that someone sees you, someone cares, someone has walked that journey alongside you. And I want resources to be allocated to our community. Resources from where? Well, from the same place, all of these resources that are allocated to our public school counterparts, maybe some of that can benefit our military homeschool community. You want a particular example. Let's say something like tutor.com. You may not know that tutor.com is available and free for active duty military. So we're going to be talking with tutor.com. So that's an example of resources that you may not know, but they are for military connected families like ours. We have chosen to homeschool, but our families are still military connected. And these resources are for any military connected active duty family, as an example with tutor.com. Some resources, it doesn't matter whether you're active duty or whether you are retired, veteran, or whatever. So this podcast, Base to Base Military Homeschooling, is going to serve you in whatever place you're located, whatever duty station, whatever branch, whatever, it doesn't matter what rank or anything like that, is for military homeschoolers. All right. And that is you and me and the supporters, those who are not actually homeschooling, but you're supporting our community. I would love to have you on as guest. Maybe you have resources you want to share within the military connected homeschool community. Maybe you have, a heart to serve and to support the military connected child and the family who chooses to homeschool. Maybe you provide support, such as a school liaison officer. Maybe you are a military recruiter who really looks at the homeschooling community and can see how incredible we are and how we serve well and how educated we are and how we do really well on the ASVAB testing and how we tend to be a little bit more patriotic and those types of things. Any type of resource, if you are a nonprofit, a business that you want to reach the military connected homeschool community with integrity and with support and love, then I would love to talk to you as well. So please, if you fit any of those categories, please reach out because I would love to give you the link. It should be actually in the description, the link for a pre-interview appointment with me. Okay. So what else? What makes me really excited about doing base-to-base military homeschooling? Well, in true military fashion, we have completed 16 PCSs. Yes, I made that a plural noun, PCSs. And I always laugh because PCS stands for Permanent Change of Station. It's nothing permanent about it. We're going to move again in most cases. Now, not all military families relocate a lot. Some stay put, but the vast majority of us relocate every 2 to 3 years, somewhere a little less, maybe 1 year for the higher ranks of general, an admiral, right? And the field ranks, or you stay put for longer than 2 or 3 years. It just varies. But we've completed 16 PCSs over the course of our 34 years. Now, they were not all to different duty stations, but within duty stations, we got orders or we needed to relocate. Let's give an example of what are you saying, Natalie? We lived over in Naples, Italy, and we loved it. And we'll talk a little bit at some point on the podcast of exposing your children to the incredible opportunities that these duty stations provide for us. Even if you don't like moving, right? There's some benefit, some advantage to it for you and your kids, especially as a homeschooling family. But yeah, so we were over in Naples, Italy, and we moved into a house, and within about a year and a half, we needed to move. So that meant we moved to another part of town, to a house that I dearly love. And I still feel homesick most every day because I miss Naples that much. Bella Napoli is always going to be in my heart, right? So, but having said that, that counted as a move, right? And so we have moved several times for different reasons. So, but like I said, the P and the acronym permanent PCS, the P means permanent, and it's not permanent until you get ready to retire, that last one, right? So what else about me? I have served the military homeschool group community in leadership capacity for about 22 years, starting with our first assignment right after we began homeschooling. So we began homeschooling in 2001, about 2 weeks before 9/11. My husband had already accepted an assignment at Camp Pendleton in sunny California, and we were living as a family in Maryland, and we had just re-entered active duty. Now, let me back up. After graduation from college, from Morehouse College, my husband was commissioned from ROTC, into the Army. And so we have lived for about 7 years, 6.5 years as an Army family. We'll talk a little bit about that journey. And then we got out to pursue seminary and came back in. So a total of 34 years from Army to reserve time to about 21 and a half as an active duty Navy chaplain family. And so that first assignment to Camp Pendleton, we had only been homeschooling about 2 weeks before we actually got on the plane and joined my husband. And it was a few weeks after 9/11 when we got on that plane. So that was an experience. I was expecting our fourth child, and we had 3 children at that point, ages 9, 7, and just had been turned 4 a few months before. And I was 34 weeks pregnant with our fourth. So what an experience, right? So we moved there, and I got involved in the Camp Pendleton homeschool group once I had our fourth child, recovered from that C-section, and life, started up again, basically. And I volunteered to lead and to schedule the field trips for that group. And we were all over sunny California, that's southern part. We did it up. We had a great time, and I scheduled so many field trips. So that was the beginning of my leadership experience in a military homeschool community and a military homeschool group. And so from that point, we moved to Virginia Beach, to Little Creek, which is now Joint Base Little Creek Fort Story, Joint Expeditionary Base, right? JEB Little Creek Fort Story. And we were there for about 6.5 years. There were 3 assignments there, from the USS Truman to command chaplain at Little Creek, a chapel and community we still dearly love and remember, especially the retirees that hold that chapel down. And then my husband did a practicum between Portsmouth Naval Hospital and the VA in Hampton. And then we got orders overseas to Naples, Italy. But while we were at Little Creek, if I can back up a minute, for that 6.5 years, I arrived there from Camp Pendleton and looked around and did not see any type of military homeschool group. And I thought, well, we had it at Camp Pendleton. Why is no one started one here? So I reached out to my dear friend. So if you listen, Kathy Carbow, and she is still a dear friend today, lives in the Tidewater area. And I said, hey, someone told me to reach out to you and ask about a military homeschool group. And she said, hey, there is a need for one. If you start it, I will support you. And to this day, she and I are like this. And I really love Kathy, and I thank you for your support, because we started that group, and I led it for that was in 2005. I led it for 5+ years, 5.5 years. And we had an incredible group called Military Christian Homeschool Support Group. And we did a lot with the HEAV, Home Educators Association of Virginia. We had speakers come like Yvonne Bunn. And we had Cindy Bracy come and did some science labs. We had a lot going on, IEW classes, for the students, so that moms who wanted to do Protestant Women of the Chapel Bible Studies, PWOC, they were able to do that. We just had an incredible thing going on there, and I love that group. And then we got orders over to Naples, Italy, and I took a break. I had been president of PWOC at Little Creek and had been leading that military Christian homeschool support group. We had another child right in the midst of that. And then we got those orders over to Naples. So that's when I said I felt like it's time to take a break. So I took a break. But that last year in Naples, that would have been 2012 to 2013, I was called to lead the Naples Christian Homeschool Group and led it and loved it, and still very close to many of those ladies still today that were there with me in Bella Napoli. So we then moved from Naples, Italy, to Eastern North Carolina. My husband was with MAG 26 at the Marine Corps Air Station New River, and we did not live on installation. We lived in Rock Creek neighborhood, almost to Richlands, and it was an incredible time. And we were there for 3 years. And although it was an incredibly different experience from living overseas in Europe and traveling and exploring and exposing our children to life in Europe and tying in history and everything to their studies being able to travel as much as we were able to. Eastern North Carolina was vastly different, as you know, right? You can imagine Naples, Italy, Europe to Eastern North Carolina, but it had its own charm. And I made so many incredible friends that I'm still very close to this day. And so, and I was helpful in leading the Facebook group with the school liaison, Julie Fulton, there at Camp Lejeune, New River. She had a Facebook group for homeschoolers, for military homeschoolers. And I started some other groups and led some field trips, and I got a Toastmasters youth leadership program going there. And we did quite a few things. And then we got those orders in up to Uniform Services University for Health Sciences called USIS. And it's in Bethesda, Maryland. And we decided to live at Fort Belvoir. And I joined Fort Belvoir Home Educators and joined the board, and then led field trips for about 3 years, and then co-led with Lisa Sierra Davidson, and then became president, and I led Fort Belvoir Home Educators for 4 years. I just stepped down August 1st of this year. We established a Congressional Award Club, a partnership with CYS, for homeschool PE, art, and STEM. And we have a school-age childcare facility that we were able to use for our events and activities from 9:30 to 2:30, Monday through Friday, except in the summer because school is out and the kids are in the building. We have a great partnership with Fort Belvoir Chapel to be able to use the Religious Ed Center for our co-op on Mondays. And great partnership with the command group, the Garrison Commander and his team, and the school liaison officers. I've always had a great relationship with SLs, and I continue to push and support and advocate under the nonprofit as well as personally with Homeschool Natalie Mack to travel, speak, and encourage our school liaison officers. And so having said that, that has been up till now my whole journey in terms of military homeschool support group leadership. So for about 22 years, I just gave you in total, right? And so a part of this time, towards the latter part of those 22 years, was when I realized that there are so many homeschoolers who are just saying, I need a little bit of support. I need a little bit of understanding. I need to develop some type of way forward to understand high school. I need to just know what's the next step. I want to continue homeschooling, but I'm stressed, I'm concerned, I'm worried. Am I enough? Am I doing enough? What am I missing? What type of curriculum? How do I know to set up my homeschool? And all the types of questions that homeschoolers ask. My heart and passion has always been us, the military homeschooler, but I also serve non-military homeschoolers because I believe in homeschooling, period, right? And so I started that Natalie Mack LLC, and on socials, it's Homeschool Natalie Mack, but I do have a website which will be linked in the description. And I would love you to subscribe there and check out the blog and the other information and tabs that I have there as well. That would be awesome. And again, if you need consultation, the link is there. If you're looking for someone to do speaking, I love to speak. I do travel to speak. I have traveled even over to Germany for 2 years in a row to support the European Homeschool Conference that was held by Michelle Seegren with KMC Homeschoolers, Kaiserslautern Military Community Homeschoolers. I've spoken for North Carolina home educators, NCHE. I have traveled quite a bit. Some of it has been personal travel with Homeschool Natalie Mack, and others it has been in a role that I dearly love as well. And it is a role that I serve with Homeschool Legal Defense Association. I am the Military Community Outreach Coordinator for HSLDA. So I want to say, though, this podcast is not a service nor a product of Homeschool Legal Defense Association. This podcast is not affiliated at all with HSLDA. This is an independent podcast that I am the host of, and it is a product and a service under Military Homeschoolers Association, known as MHA. Okay, so that is me in a nutshell. I probably left out something, but over the next episodes and all, please connect with me. Please let me know some ideas and some topics you may want to see covered here on the podcast. Again, the focus and the guests primarily are going to be the military homeschooler stationed in different parts of the world. You see my globe because I love to travel, and I know we're all over the world as military homeschoolers. So I want to hear from you all. This podcast is my way of saying I hear you, and I have lived and walked the same journey and had those questions when I got orders to say, oh, what is it like there? And I remember back during the Yahoo groups, yeah, I'm dating myself, where that's all we had. Now you have social media, but it can still be really hard to find the answer. And I see the questions constantly in the military homeschool groups that I moderate and lead on Facebook. And the questions are like, hey, is anybody there? Or we have a choice of 3 or 4 assignments. Which one should we choose? And what will be the best place for us as a homeschooling family? So this podcast, Base2Base, Military Homeschooling, is going to have guests like us that can talk and speak with knowledge, wisdom, experience, because they have invested, they've bloomed where they are planted in their community. But the other guests, again, will be those support personnel, like the school liaisons and other people, librarians and other programs and entities that want to reach the military homeschool community. I want to hear from you. I'm looking for sponsors and I'm looking for guests. Okay. So definitely reach out. And so we're going to have incredible chats, incredible talks on how to live our best military homeschooling life. So that's all for now. And I look forward to hearing from you as we proceed with this podcast. And again, click on the links in the description and check me out and sign up if you think you would like to be pre-interviewed to be on the podcast. Okay. So I think that that's it. And we will go ahead and stop now. And thank you so very, very much. And I look forward to journeying with you down Base2Base military homeschooling.